Thanks for joining us. I just wanted to share with you some information. Now, I've talked at length or ad nauseum about the fact that our afternoon high temperatures are now declining in numbers. So we're slowly, whether you know it or not, we're transitioning closer and closer to the fall season. I've already seen on social media, people are counting down until ski resorts open right here in North America. I'm not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. Average high temperature for this time of the year, let's call it mid-August, 93, 92 for Grand Junction. For Montrose, it's 88 degrees. So we're close. And on this Sunday afternoon, this is the best it's going to get, because getting into next week, our temperatures will drop below these averages. Just look at this board and consider it the average afternoon high temperature for this time of the year. We're going to go below these numbers all next week, and that's because, yes, you guessed it right, because we have a lot more storms to look forward to, and there's more intense storms as well. Now, leading up to the end of the weekend, it's just been these scattered storms that pop up in the middle of the day over the mountain zones and then drift over the valleys. So it's like flipping a coin, trying to decide where the next storm is. At best, all we can do is look at radar and then try to figure out what direction, how fast, how quickly, whether or not it's going to last. You could do the same thing by looking outside. That's what we were doing Friday night in Palisade. We were looking up at the Grand Mesa at the storms spilling off. A little bit more scientific than that, but I'll say this. Our storm pattern is going to remain in place. It's going to continue through the start of the week. In fact, it's going to intensify for this upcoming week. Now, of course, hazards. Let's say you want to go hiking. Let's say you want to go mushroom hunting. You have to get to the higher elevations for that. So I'm talking about anyone who's going to spend time above 10,000 feet. Timberline's about 11.4, I believe. And then bagging a 12, bagging a 13, bagging a 14er. You need to start early, and you need to finish early. And by that I mean midday, you should be down. You should be already descending, because these storms start in the mountain zones. You've got lightning hazards, you've got hail hazards, and you have some gusty winds and some heavy downpours in those higher elevations. Now, you make it out of that, you get to the lower valleys, now all of a sudden it's the late afternoon and early evening hours. Now you have to look out for those storms. But as we get into next week, we're going to see a lot more storm coverage, so we won't just be relying on flipping a coin, for example, to see where the storms are going to pop up and where they're going to drift. There's going to be a lot more storm coverage. And it's all because of this high pressure system, the placement of this high. Earlier this past week, it was over Colorado. You might recall the hotter afternoons, but they were humid as well, because we have trapped moisture underneath that dome of high pressure. Then the high pressure system started to move a little bit, but still focused around the Colorado area. We got to the 100-degree reading mark for Grand Junction. Delta was at 100 degrees twice last week, because the position of the high pressure system was over Colorado. Now we've been feeling it, and we've been watching it reposition itself to the east. And now it's dropping into the southeast, or at least the Red River Valley, which is the southern central plains. That's a good subtropical tap. That's a good position to get into, to get rid of just these scattered showers that pop up and drift. Now all of a sudden we see more widespread storm coverage, and it's the entire Four Corners region. It's the entire desert Southwest. This is the definition of the North American monsoon. From south to north, storms propagating and surviving into the late night hours. You know you're in the NAM, or the North American monsoon, when you're watching lightning strikes late at night and you're dealing with storms that will last into the early morning hours. Now, speaking of storms, this is what the upcoming week looks like for Grand Junction. Remember that average high temperatures in the lower 90s? Well, we're going to remain below that number. In fact, all areas will remain below the averages for this upcoming work week, and that means we have plenty of showers and thunderstorms, many of which won't wait until the midday, many of which won't need to drift over the valleys, because they'll be so widespread, the coverage will be so across the western slope that we're going to have to watch ourselves for flood watches. We may even see some flood warnings. We may even see some severe thunderstorm warnings in a couple of isolated spots. And remember, when those severe thunderstorm warnings kick off, it's a county-wide warning issuance, so you're likely going to pick that up with your smart device.